There's a quiet kind of faith that doesn't need temples, prayers, or names. It's the kind that lives in the small gestures. A stranger holding the door open. A friend who listens without judging. A smile given with no expectation of return. We often imagine religion as something distant, a doctrine, a ritual, a label we inherit or reject. But what if the most profound religion isn't found in churches, mosques, or monasteries, but in the heart that chooses kindness when it doesn't have to? Imagine a world where people stop arguing over whose truth is right and start practicing compassion as if it were the only truth that mattered. Where kindness isn't weakness, but a sacred strength. Where every act of understanding is a prayer, and every gentle word is a hymn. The Dalai Lama once said, "My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness." And in those few words lies a revolution, a return to the essence of what it means to be human. Because maybe we don't need more believers. We need more beings who remember how to care. What if the purest form of faith was not something we spoke, but something we lived? We live in an age where spirituality has never been more visible, yet compassion has never felt more scarce. Everywhere the world is talking about mindfulness, kindness, empathy. There are workshops, books, influencers who teach how to be good. But step outside and you'll feel it. The quiet tension humming beneath the surface. The rush, the judgment, the loneliness. We scroll through endless feeds filled with motivational quotes and digital prayers, yet we barely look into the eyes of the person beside us. We praise kindness online, but snap in traffic. We talk about compassion as a virtue, yet fear being taken advantage of. And somehow, in trying to look like good people, we've forgotten how to be good people. Our modern religion is convenience. We worship at the altar of speed, efficiency, and image. And in this worship, something sacred erodes. The slow human warmth of kindness freely given. We light incense for inner peace, but burn out in silence. We post about empathy, but live guarded lives, afraid that softness means vulnerability. We chase validation through charity events and moral hashtags, but rarely ask ourselves if kindness still moves us when no one's watching. The paradox is painful and poetic. The more we speak about goodness, the less we seem to embody it. The more we seek connection, the lonelier we feel. Because kindness, in its purest form, demands something we've forgotten how to offer: presence. To be truly kind means to pause. To see someone not as a task, a category, or a story to fix, but as another fragile soul navigating their own storms. It means to listen without preparing your next reply, to forgive without needing an apology, to care without needing to be right. But modern life doesn't reward stillness. It rewards visibility, productivity, noise. We measure worth by output, not by openness. And so the quiet acts of compassion, the very things that hold our world together, disappear beneath the roar of ambition. In this world of algorithms and achievements, kindness becomes a rebellion, a soft defiance against the coldness of efficiency, a sacred act that reminds us we are more than our performance. We don't need to renounce technology or abandon ambition. We just need to remember that love, real love, is never fast. It takes time to see, to feel, to understand. It takes courage to stay soft in a world that keeps demanding hardness. So maybe the real question is not whether humanity has lost its faith, but whether we've mistaken attention for compassion, noise for connection, and rituals for love. Because beneath all our modern distractions, something ancient still waits quietly. A religion without boundaries, without books, without names. A faith that lives not in belief, but in the beating of a kind heart. And perhaps that's where all true spirituality begins. What is kindness, really? We often confuse it with politeness, a soft smile, a well-timed thank you, a practiced warmth that keeps us socially acceptable. But real kindness isn't always gentle. It isn't always easy. And it's rarely convenient. True kindness is the courage to remain open when the world asks you to close. It's the quiet act of keeping your heart soft in moments that would justify turning cold. It's seeing the pain behind someone's cruelty and choosing not to mirror it. The Dalai Lama's words, "My religion is kindness," are not a slogan for comfort. They are a challenge to awaken. Because to make kindness your faith is to live without armor. It's to let the world touch you deeply, knowing it will sometimes hurt, and yet, to choose love anyway. Think about it. Every great spiritual tradition, stripped of its rituals and rules, teaches the same truth: that love is not a concept, but a practice. To love is to see. To see is to understand. And to understand is to dissolve the illusion of separation. Kindness is not a performance for others. It is the art of seeing yourself in another being. When you help someone rise, you rise a little too. When you forgive someone's weakness, you begin to forgive your own. This is the secret symmetry of compassion. It frees both the giver and the receiver. But this simplicity terrifies us, because to live by kindness means to surrender control. You can plan your career, your finances, your goals, but you cannot plan the unpredictable beauty of being kind. It requires vulnerability, spontaneity, and the willingness to be hurt. In a world built on transactions, kindness asks for a different currency: trust. Trust that even if your gesture goes unnoticed, it still matters. Trust that goodness does not vanish simply because it isn't seen. Trust that every act of warmth ripples silently through the fabric of the world. The philosopher Hannah Arendt once wrote, "The smallest act of kindness is never wasted." And yet, our culture rarely rewards small acts. We are addicted to spectacle, the big donation, the viral moment, the grand gesture. But the soul doesn't need spectacle. It grows in the invisible spaces, the moments no one claps for. A quiet word to calm a friend's shame. A moment of patience with a stranger who moves too slowly. The decision not to retaliate when you easily could. Each of these is a small revolution. Kindness, when lived fully, is the most radical act of freedom, because it breaks the cycle of reaction, the endless chain of hurt answering hurt. It says, "This pain ends with me." In that sense, kindness is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It's easy to be cruel in a cruel world, to match energy, to protect yourself by hardening. But to stay kind, that takes power. It takes awareness deep enough to see through the illusion that others' cruelty defines who you must become. Kindness is awareness in motion. It is not sentimental, but fierce. It's the act of staying awake in a world that numbs itself with noise and anger. To live kindly is to declare, I will not let the darkness decide the shape of my heart. And perhaps this is why the Dalai Lama calls kindness a religion, because it asks for devotion. Not to a god, not to a temple, but to the living moment. It asks you to kneel before life itself and whisper, I will meet you with gentleness, even when you meet me with pain. You see, compassion is not about saving the world. It's about remembering that the world was never separate from you to begin with. When we soften, the world softens with us. When we forgive, the world breathes easier. And though it seems small, this is how humanity heals. Not through power or politics, but through the invisible language of kindness, passed from soul to soul. The child who grows up feeling seen becomes the adult who offers safety to others. The stranger who receives a small kindness becomes the friend who gives it forward. And the one who learns forgiveness stops the ancient lineage of pain that once ruled their family. This is how light travels, quietly, endlessly, through hearts that refuse to close. So perhaps the ultimate spiritual path is not enlightenment at all. It's not about ascending beyond the world, but descending fully into it with open eyes, open hands, and an open heart. To live kindly is to live awake, aware, and profoundly human. And when you understand that, religion becomes something far simpler. Not a place you go, but a way you move. Not a system you follow, but a rhythm you embody. A silent vow that says, wherever I go, may I bring less fear and more love. Because in the end, kindness doesn't need to be taught. It only needs to be remembered. It's what we are when we stop pretending to be anything else. And in that remembering, the world, broken as it is, begins to heal. Kindness is the soul remembering its true shape. There was once a small monastery high in the mountains of Tibet. The air there was thin, the mornings quiet enough to hear the wind comb through the grass. Among the monks lived an old caretaker named Tenzin, a man who rarely spoke, but whose presence felt like sunlight after rain. Every day, Tenzin swept the temple courtyard long before dawn. He never hurried. Each stroke of the broom seemed like a meditation, soft, rhythmic, almost like he was brushing the dust off the world itself. One morning, a young novice arrived, restless, ambitious, hungry for enlightenment. He saw Tenzin sweeping and thought, why waste time on such meaningless chores? So he asked, Old man, why do you sweep the ground every day? Don't you want to meditate, to study, to find wisdom? Tenzin smiled. The ground must be clean so that the monks can walk in peace, he said. But you could teach, you could pray, the novice pressed. Tenzin looked up at the sky, where the first light was breaking through the mist. My sweeping is my prayer, he whispered. The novice scoffed quietly. He couldn't understand. Days passed, and he watched as Tenzin continued his silent routine, sweeping, mending sandals, offering tea, comforting those who were ill. There was something maddeningly simple about him. He seemed content without achievement. One night, a fierce storm struck the monastery. The wind tore through the wooden beams, and rain flooded the lower halls. Panic spread. Books were soaked, walls cracked, candles snuffed out. The young novice tried to save the scriptures, shouting orders, demanding help. But in the chaos, he noticed Tenzin again, barefoot, drenched, carrying buckets of water outside. Hours passed. By dawn, the storm eased. The courtyard was a mess. Branches, mud, broken tiles. And there, once again, was Tenzin, sweeping. The novice, exhausted and frustrated, approached him. "How can you sweep after such disaster?" he cried. "Everything is ruined." Tenzin paused. He lifted a handful of wet leaves and let them fall slowly through his fingers. Then he said, "When the storm comes, you don't stop sweeping. You sweep because of the storm." For the first time, the novice was silent. He looked at the courtyard, the small piles of leaves, the soft rhythm of the broom, the calm rising in the chaos. In that simple motion, he saw something holy. Weeks later, as spring returned, the monastery bloomed with wildflowers. The novice began waking before dawn, taking up his own broom. At first it felt awkward, humbling. But day after day, he began to feel the quiet pulse of it, the way every stroke seemed to steady his thoughts, the way service softened his pride. And one morning, as he swept beside Tenzin, the old man looked at him and said gently, "Now, you are meditating." Years passed. The novice grew older, wiser, gentler. When visitors came seeking profound teachings, he no longer quoted scriptures. He handed them a broom, because he had learned what Tenzin already knew, that enlightenment is not found in escape from the ordinary, but in giving yourself fully to it. That kindness is not something you plan or preach, but something you practice, one humble gesture at a time. When Tenzin died, the monastery held no grand ceremony. But on the morning after his passing, every monk, from the youngest to the eldest, came out before dawn. And as the sun rose, hundreds of brooms moved softly across the courtyard, the air filled with the music of devotion disguised as simplicity. The novice, now old himself, whispered to the wind, "Your sweeping never stopped, Tenzin. You just changed hands." And in that moment, he understood. Kindness, when lived fully, becomes eternal. It passes through us like breath, unseen, but sustaining everything. Because love is not remembered in monuments or words, but in the quiet hands that keep sweeping the world clean. Sometimes, the simplest truths take us a lifetime to understand. We chase meaning, purpose, and recognition, all while the very essence of life sits quietly in the corner, waiting for us to notice. It's there in the hand that steadies another's fall, in the breath you take before reacting, in the choice to be gentle when you could have been right. Kindness isn't a religion because it doesn't demand belief. It's a remembering, a returning home to the softest part of ourselves. It's what's left when all pretense falls away, when identity, ego, and ideology dissolve. What remains is the raw pulse of life itself, reaching out toward life. We often think enlightenment is about light, radiance, wisdom, awakening. But maybe it's also about warmth, the quiet heat of compassion that keeps the coldness of the world from taking root in us. You can live your whole life searching for a divine sign, and yet it might come not as thunder or revelation, but as a stranger offering you their umbrella in the rain. Because kindness doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek to convert or convince. It simply is. And when you meet it, truly meet it, something ancient stirs inside you. You remember that life isn't a competition to win, but a web to care for. That the sacred is not somewhere else. It's right here, in the way you treat what stands before you. And perhaps that's the tragedy and beauty of being human. We build walls for safety, only to realize the heart was never meant to live behind them. We defend ourselves from pain, only to find that numbness is a greater suffering than heartbreak. We seek God in the heavens, when all along divinity was looking through our own eyes. Every time we forgave, every time we listened, every time we loved, despite the ache. Kindness is not about fixing others. It's about seeing them completely. Seeing their confusion, their wounds, their contradictions, and recognizing your own within them. Yet standing in that mirror and saying, I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to heal. And I choose love anyway. When the Dalai Lama said, my religion is kindness, he wasn't simplifying spirituality. He was distilling it. He was reminding us that beneath every ritual, every language, every belief, there is a single universal prayer. May I not add more pain to the world today. And if that becomes your religion, if every morning you wake and decide, today I will try to be kind, then you are already a disciple of something vast, timeless, and holy. Because maybe the true measure of a life is not how many people admired us, but how many felt safe in our presence. And maybe heaven is not a place we go after death, but the quiet peace that fills the air each time a single heart chooses love over fear. As the world grows louder, it's easy to forget how powerful gentleness can be. But the truth is, every moment is an invitation to listen instead of react, to understand instead of assume, to love instead of win. Kindness is not about being perfect, it's about being present. It's about choosing softness when everything around you hardens. It's about being the quiet light that asks for nothing and yet helps others see. Maybe your faith doesn't need a name, and your prayers don't need words. Maybe what the universe asks of you is much simpler. To walk through this life with open hands, to notice who needs a smile, a pause, a bit of your time, to give warmth freely, without counting, without reason. And in doing so, you will find something miraculous. That kindness doesn't just heal others. It heals you. It cleans the dust from your spirit until what remains is clarity, humility, peace. So today, before you rush into the noise again, pause, breathe. Ask yourself quietly, what would kindness do here? Because when you choose kindness, you are practicing the oldest and truest form of prayer. A prayer that doesn't need to be spoken, only lived. And when enough of us live that way, the world itself begins to remember its sacred shape. In the end, kindness is not a religion. It's the soul remembering that everything it touches is also sacred.